Welcome to Computability Freaks. I'm your host, Erin Carmody. You might know me as the star of the TV show, Computability Freaks. Won't you come with me on this journey? As we make our way through Soare's book, The Art of Turing Computability. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say that I haven't read this book yet, so we're reading it together. Okay, so I had to choose first a book. I wanted to do this because I want to learn more about computability, and I wrote a paper, and I submitted it to a journal, and it didn't get accepted, but it might be accepted to a conference or something. But I don't really know that much. I mean, computability, I feel like if someone asked me a question, I would be like, don't ask me. So I really want to go through this, but obviously, okay, so this paper that I wrote was actually, I started like 10 years ago when I was in a computability class, Joel David Hampton's computability class. I went through a process of reviving that paper, but that's a different documentary that I have not released. Okay, so I wanted to do this, and so first of all, the book. So I had to choose a computability book. I sort of randomly chose. I mean, I asked for some suggestions. I got this Soare suggestion. I chose it because it said Turing in the title. So that looked good, and then I figured out from reading that. Well, we'll see. I'm not going to say anything about that. But I was like, who's this Soare? Who's Soare? I probably should know already, but so I looked up on Math Genealogy, and I found his advisor was. Remember his advisor, but his advisor, we can look it up. Maybe at the end if that's interesting. I can't remember his advisor's name. It's important, I should know. And then that person's advisor was Saunders McLean. And so my advisor, Joel David Hampkins, his advisor, William Wooden, which I didn't realize his name is William, his advisor, Solvay, his advisor, Saunders McLean. Okay, so there's a connection there. And also, then I saw that his Soare's student, is Russell Miller. And when I think of computability, I think of Russell Miller. And Russell's student, Rebecca Steiner. And also Karen Lang, one of her advisors was also Soare. So I feel like this is a good book. This is reliable. Okay. I hope there's not some kind of copyright infringement or something. This is all for educational purposes. Okay. But maybe I should ask him. Maybe I should. Okay. So there's some other things I maybe wanted to mention before we get into the okay, so hopefully we'll just do this on here. Again, haven't read the book. Maybe after I do this, then if I have to teach a computability course where I get to, then I can have some kind of master plan or something. But really, this book is so good. And I will just say, if I get too excited and I'm like, you guys got to hear this book. It might, like, did I write this book? No, I did not write this book. Soare wrote this book. And it's very good. I almost feel like I should have read it a long time ago. Okay. I'm sure some of it's getting, passed on to me from classes and stuff. Okay. So, I forgot to say, I wanted to say this way, won't you come on a journey with me through Robert Irving Soare's book, The Art of Turing Computability. Today's episode is Preface. Okay, we chose the book. The Family Tree. Okay, what do I know about computability? Not much, but I did write a paper, and I might present this paper, so I would like to know more about computability. I guess computability is something that it's taken me a long time, not that I've been going at it, but to understand the bigger picture of computability. I think it's something that's it takes a little bit of experience or something. It's philosophical. Okay, computability equals philosophy. Okay, so it's the first time of me going through. Okay, so let's just get on the board. I hope this works. I hope you can see it. Okay, so the first time I did this, I can't see the camera right now. Usually I have the camera a selfie facing. I'm still looking at myself, probably too much. Today I can't see myself. Now, okay, so first time I tried this, when I did it on the computer, it was backwards. Okay, I probably said no. It was backwards, and so I was like, that's not going to work. I couldn't see. It was backwards when I was looking at it. So then I figured out how to write backwards, so that was helpful. I guess I don't need to. Anyway, I figured it all out. It's the right way. I believe that you're seeing it the correct way, but please let me know. Okay. So we'll get to this. There's something here we'll get to at the end, but let's just get started. Okay. So I should have should be slightly more organized perhaps. But we're just going to go through this preface today. There's a lot here and before we get even into the chapters, and I want to go through it because it's really, really fucking good. Sorry. Okay, so you're going to be really excited about this book that I wrote. Okay. So this book is called, let's see how this is going to work. Is this boring? I don't know. So The Art of Turing Computability. Theory and applications. So there's three important concepts. Okay, if you've already read this book before, you know it's like very, very good. If you haven't ready, get ready. If you haven't read it yet, get ready. Okay, so there's three important concepts. Okay. So I just want to make sure that so there's three important concepts. We'll just say, I guess it's like kind of hard to say what this is without defining and stuff like that, but that's the whole point of this class. And so one is computability. Okay, whatever that means, right? So you might say, what is computability? Computability is about what computability is about, I believe. So computability, effective computability, like computation, things like that. Turing, classical computability a la Turing and Post. So we'll talk about that a little bit today. And so this is classical computability. With Post. I mean, not that it was like together, but we'll talk. And then the third thing, really, it's got me excited, is the art of computability. Okay, I should have read this. A skill to be practiced, but also emphasizing an aesthetic sense of beauty and taste in mathematics. Okay, I wish. So yeah, he's going to get into this. So the art of classical computability. Computability. So he says the intention of the book is develop the art of computability as an aesthetic, artistic endeavor. Okay. I want to see when this book was written. From Chicago, 2016. Oh, this is not very, this is very recent. Oh, wow. After I graduated 2015. Is this really 2016? Okay. And also I just saw this, I dedicate this book to my wife. I shouldn't have done this again. I don't know how to pronounce it. Pegan. That's nice. Okay. It's an artistic endeavor. He says, not just correct statement, valid proof. I think that a lot of us mathematicians would agree with this aspect of writing. Okay, and it's also like how your computability paper relates to what came before and what will come after. Okay, what was my paper was non-deterministic infinite time Turing machines. Now, okay, it's just like. I'm just going to say, I'm not going to talk about that paper because that's a different show. Okay, I'm not going to talk about that, but maybe that fits in. Okay. I was just going to say, it's very like an offshoot of Joel Hampkin's infinite time Turing machines. Okay, with Andy Lewis. Okay, this is a great story. So he's talking about Michelangelo. I should have got the pictures. We could look it up. So he's talking about Michelangelo's unfinished slaves. and it's these. I can imagine it. But it's partially sculpted. It's like figures coming out of the marble, and so Michelangelo, I think, like famously said that the sculpture was already in the figure's already in the marble, and he's just revealing it. Okay, so this is like what Soare is envisioning for computability. It's revealing himself. Oh, and he's also saying like that Turing. Okay, so Turing in his I have 1936 to 1936. So I'm not exactly sure what that is saying. So I'm sorry for my notes here, but 1936 to 1939. So Turing 1936. He saw the figure in the marble. He saw that what this thing was, computability. That's what he's saying. Okay. He saw more clearly. He said, okay. I'll just read this. Okay, Michelangelo thought of himself not as carving a statue, but as seeing the figure within the marble and then chipping away at the marble to release it. The unfinished slaves are perhaps a more revealing example of this talent than the finished statue of David. Similarly, it was Alan Turing, 1936 to 1939, who saw the figure of computability in the marble more clearly than anyone else. Okay, so the steps that Turing took and saw. So first step is, these are quotes from the book, Finding a Formal Definition. For effectively calculable functions. Okay, step 2, demonstrate that it captured computability. Demonstrating that it captured computability is an artistic endeavor. That's what he's saying. The second step is demonstrating that it captured computability. I'm sorry for the bad handwriting. Okay, and he says this is from Soare, of course. This is an artistic endeavor, because it's a little bit. Again, need to talk to an expert about this, but we'll get into it. So I guess I'll finish my thought. It feels a little bit cyclical or something, because you say, what is computability? What's a computable function? It's something that's computable. Okay, this is the whole story. I guess that's the bigger picture. That's like, what we're doing is the right way, that what we should be doing. Okay, and it's an artistic. So he's saying Turing. So Michelangelo saw the figure. Turing saw the computer. Okay, we have to remember this was before computers. So he saw a device, a machine. He demonstrates that this mechanical device captures all effectively calculable processes. Okay, so the idea is that what does it mean for something to be computable? Computable by a Turing machine. Sort of defining what is computability. What is computable? Okay. The aims of the book, we're in the preface here. Okay, I should have these papers in order, but okay. So the aims of the book are the craft of computability, and see the figure. Okay. I want to say it takes some sophistication, some experience or something to be able to talk about computability. Okay, so the reader, we should understand the nature of a computable process. A computably enumerable set. We're going to talk about that at the end of today. How to measure informational content, an algebraic structure, a model, how we approximate these concepts at a finite stage in a computable process. Okay. So I think I'll go into now the great papers, this is in the preface still, the great papers of computability. So he said, he's giving an example of the 1930 Great Books program, where students would read literature in the original language and try or always find original sources. And he's maybe relating this to talk about from 1930 to 1950, the first 2 decades of computability. It's fun working in areas that are just little babies. Computability. I have no idea. Missed a few letters there. Okay. So the primary sources for computability, he says, at least like then, were papers. Okay, isn't it nice that now we have these books, like his book? So he was just saying that. So the primary sources were these papers, and Martin Davis, in 1965, compiled these papers, the undecidable basic papers on undecidable propositions, unsolvable problems, and computable functions. And he says all the great papers are here from this time. And they should all be read, and they're all really fundamental to the subject, and they helped shape the subject. But he said several of these papers in here are written in a complicated style that's hard for the reader, difficult for a beginner to comprehend, except that there's 2 that are accessible for a beginning student. So there's 2 accessible papers from here for a beginning student. And his criteria for this is that it's a really important paper. 3 things. One is that it's a really important paper, fundamental importance to computability. The second thing is that the concepts that were developed in the paper are just as important today as they were then. Okay. I can see sometimes things happening in math where it's like, it was a really cool idea, but it just never like went anywhere, so people don't really know what that is now or something. So it has to be important today as then. And he says, for this criteria to be the accessible papers, it has to be written in a clear, informal style that any beginning student will enjoy reading it. Okay, and so the 2 papers are the Turing's paper in 1926 and Post's paper in 1944. Okay. So Turing's paper, it said especially section 9, and this Post is especially section 11. And I do know how to draw those things. I was practicing it. It's coming out much worse than when I was practicing it. Okay, so this Turing paper. So let's talk about the Turing paper first. Okay, we'll look at both of these. Okay, so the Turing paper introduces the Turing machine. Universal machine. Existence of undecidable problems. And it's used in math and computer science today to define what a computable function is. Pages 249 to 254. Let's take a look at that paper. Okay. Just look at the existence of it. Looks nice. Okay, what pages does he say? Okay, I should have read this. I have not. This does look. It does look like you could read it. Okay, 249. Okay, I wish I could add some insight or something from the paper, but okay. No attempt has yet been made to show that the computable numbers include all numbers which would naturally be regarded as computable. Okay. Well, that's great. I mean, it's really nice that we can access these things now. Okay, we'll look at that again sometime, I'm sure. So here's post paper. Oh, we're not to post yet. Let's continue with it. Let's see if there's anything else to say about this Turing paper. I'm sure there's lots to say about it, just for now. The numbers computable by a Turing machine. Okay, so he's saying numbers computable. This quote right here is Soare, and then this is what Turing. This is a quote from Turing right here. Inside this quote, include all numbers which would be regarded as computable. Okay, I feel like if you're just starting off, something like that is like, what are you talking about? Even now, what are you talking about? So I think that this is something that we're going to, that's going to be revealed to us throughout this journey. Okay, so I'm not totally getting this, but he's saying something like, because Turing was doing this, defining what a computable function is, and saying computable function is something that's computable by a Turing machine. Okay, forgive me. He said, I know this is going to be important. He said, so therefore he's able to diagonalize against all potential decidable problems. I didn't quite. Okay, we'll get to that. I had in my notes right here, computability is a subset of philosophy. I'm just wondering, other subjects, whether or not it's okay, I'm trying to think. Every time I try and do this, though, it starts to make sense. So I think computability is about what computability is about. But you wouldn't necessarily say that art is about what art is about. Okay, there are some artists, I'd say Marcel Duchamp or something, that is like some of his art is about what art is and what's acceptable art. Art history would say art history is about what art history is about. Mathematics is about what mathematics is about. Okay, some mathematics is about what mathematics is about. So it's sort of this like fringe. If you can go into any subject, I feel like you can go into any subject and be like, you know, biology is about what biology is about. I'm sure there are biologists that are studying what biology is about or something like that. I don't know. But so it seems like in any subject, maybe towards the fringe, you can kind of get a looking in on it or something. But it seems like computability, the whole thing is looking in. And so I think it's very I really feel like it's very philosophical. So I would say this. Because it's almost like, you know, when you get to the bottom of math, again, forgive me if I'm saying things wrong, but it's like, right, like if you get to the bottom of math and it's like there's the axioms and you're like, oh, like you can change the axioms maybe, and you're bumping up against something that's a belief, I guess you could say. Okay, maybe I went too far. I don't know. Well, let's see. I do think that, yeah, it's better if I don't say too much. Okay, let's let Soare do the talking. Okay. Oh, and Soare says this thing that Turing did, just I guess defining what computability is critical because of its non-mathematical nature. That's what Soare, because it's like this sort of non-mathematical thing. Like, okay, that's a great sentence. He said it. It's critical because of its non-mathematical nature. Okay, excellent. Okay, so now we'll go into. Okay, and so we'll mention that in Turing's paper, he did introduce like an oracle. But maybe didn't develop it a lot or something. Okay, so post-paper, it's so funny. I hear this all the time. I should know about this. Okay, so post-paper talks about recursively enumerable sets. I believe this is the same thing as computably enumerable, semi-decidable. This is what we'll get into. Two ideas that Post had, so two main ideas. Emil Post, let's see, number one, structure and information content of computably enumerable sets. So I'll just say CE sets here. And then the second thing that's supposed to be is a set being reducible to another set. So like Turing reducibility. He called it Turing reducibility. And I believe that that means you can compute the set B using A as an oracle. Using A as an oracle. You can compute B from a Turing machine using A as an oracle. And then Post called this Turing reducibility. Okay, so he developed this oracle thing, but called it Turing reducibility. Yeah, great idea, Post. Okay, and just more about Post. So maybe we'll just check out that paper real quick. Let's see. Let's just look at it. Because we're going to do more about... So this was Post's important paper, but then he did more after this. So this is the 1944 paper. See, already, this is... I'm more... you can dive right in. See, that's why it's when I wrote this paper, I didn't say anything I did not... I wish I could be this, the development of computability over the years, that's something, I don't know, that's fine the way it was, but that's something that would take a lot of knowledge and really a deep knowledge. Okay, this is Post paper. Maybe we'll just taking a look at the accessibility of it. I'm just going to go to that. Okay, so then, so this is a little bit more about what Post did. This is in the preface still. 1944 to 1954. Post continued to develop this idea. I guess both these ideas. I guess, okay, then 1948, maybe when this was fully developed. I don't know. Forget it. Degrees of Turing degrees. Okay, so I'll just say that he kept developing this idea. Oh, and then it gets like a little bit sad. I don't know how sad it is. But it just says that, well, he died. Post gave the notes to Klein before he died in 1954. Okay. I would use my phone to look something up, but it's over there. Okay. I guess I don't know when Post was born, but, okay. Okay, sorry, let's just look it up real quick. Oh, no, I can't do that. Okay, let me see. I have all this, like, production set up. Okay, I just believe it. We'll have to look it up. Or if you know it, you can tell me. Okay. Okay, so then there's a paper, Klein Post publication, published by Klein in 1954. Introduced a finite forcing argument. I'm not sure what that means, if it has to do with, like, set theory force? So hopefully that's something that we'll learn more about. And okay. Okay, other other important things, other important papers. They're reprinted in Davis, 1965. And then he mentions a bunch of Gödel papers. So we can't talk about computability without talking about Gödel. So hopefully this will come up like in the details, but Gödel's incompleteness theorem, I'm just remembering now, I think there's like, somehow Gödel wasn't able to fully define what a recursive function was, a computable function was. Something, okay, if I think about it very carefully, I could come up with it, but it's something like Turing sort of got around this by having functions that could be undefined in places or something. I can't remember, but okay, Gödel did lots of good stuff, of course. Okay, so Gödel kind of got into this. So 1931, 1986, okay, 1986, 1990, these are books that I guess are reprinted. Gödel's collected works in 3 volumes. Okay, and Gödel-Rosser. Okay. That's the end of the preface. We'll get into the introduction next time. Before we do that, I just wanted to give an example of a computability enumerable set. I believe I, can talk about that, but if I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. So the idea is we have this infinite cast list. There's a play. Everybody's trying out. There's like infinitely many people. Maybe there's infinitely many parts. Yeah, I don't know. But there's infinitely many people trying out, and they try out for the play, and it goes really well. And then I have to wait for whether they're not like on the list or not. So here's the fools just waiting for their name to be called. So in this world, okay, so someone's like going to call off their names if they're in the play. Okay, so this is a semi-decidable computability enumerable set, because I can tell if you're on the list, you will find out at some point that you're on the list. If you're on the list, you're just going to be waiting forever. Okay. So if you're on the list, you'll eventually find out. If you're not on the list, you're just going to be waiting forever. So it's semi-decidable. So given any, you can think of it this, given any person, any hopeful, you can tell them if they're in it, then eventually at some point you can tell them yes, but you can never tell them no. Okay, I like, we're going to get into like what's computability, what's a Turing machine and all that, but I believe that a computably enumerable set is one where you can think of it two ways. One way is that you have a machine that when it inputs a number, if the number is in the set, then at some point it's going to halt. If the number is not in the set, then it's never going to halt. So if a number's in the set, at some point we'll know. If it's not in the set, we'll just be waiting forever. Or you can think of it as a computably enumerable set is one where there's a Turing machine, there's an algorithm that can list the members. So like the cast list, it's going to list the members over time. But so you know what's on the list. You can't ever get a solid no when it's on the list. Okay, yeah, so we'll talk more about that, but I believe that's the idea for that. Okay. Well, freaks. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining me today's episode. I'll see you next time. See you next time on Computability Freaks.